Who was Darwin's bulldog?
Thomas Huxley, 1825 to 1895, was a staunch supporter of Darwin's work. In fact, Huxley wrote a favorable review of Darwin's On the Origin of Species that appeared soon after its publication. When the firestorm of controversy began after the appearance of Darwin's book, Huxley was ready and able to defend Darwin, whose chronic public reticence about his theories was at that time exacerbated by illness. Huxley's defense of Darwin was so vigorous during a debate with Bishop Samuel Wilberforce, 1805 to 1873. At the British Association for the Advancement of Science in 1860 that he earned the title Darwin's Bulldog.
What are moonquakes?
Similar to earthquakes, moonquakes are a result of the constant shifting of molten or partly molten material in the interior of the moon. These moonquakes are usually very weak. Other moonquakes may be caused by the impact of meteorites on the moon's surface. Still others occur at regular intervals during a lunar cycle, suggesting that gravitational forces from Earth have an effect on the moon similar to ocean tides.
What is a seed?
A seed is a mature, fertilized ovule. It consists of the seed embryo and the nutrient-rich tissue called the endosperm. The embryo consists of a miniature root and shoot.
What is the science of chaos?
Chaos or chaotic behavior is the behavior of a system whose final state depends very sensitively on the initial conditions. The behavior is unpredictable and cannot be distinguished from a random process, even though it is strictly determinate in a mathematical sense. Chaos studies the complex and irregular behavior of many systems in nature, such as changing weather patterns, flow of turbulent fluids, and swinging pendulums. Scientists once thought they could make exact predictions about such systems, but found that a tiny difference in starting conditions can lead to greatly different results. Chaotic systems do obey certain rules, which mathematicians have described with equations. But the science of chaos demonstrates the difficulty of predicting the long-range behavior of chaotic systems.
Who invented the World Wide Web?
Tim Berners-Lee, 1955, is considered the creator of the World Wide Web, WWW. The WWW is a massive collection of interlinked hypertext documents that travel over the internet and are viewed through a browser. The Internet is a global network of computers developed in the 1960s and 1970s by the U.S. Department of Defense's Advanced Research Project Agency, hence the term ARPANET. The idea of the Internet was to provide redundancy of communications in case of a catastrophic event. Like a nuclear blast, which might destroy a single connection or computer but not the entire network. The browser is used to translate the hypertext, usually written in hypertext markup language. HTML, so it is human readable on a computer screen. Along with Gutenberg's invention of the printing press. The inception of the WWW in 1990 and 1991, when Berners-Lee released the tools and protocols onto the Internet, is considered one of humanity's greatest communications achievements.
Do both sides of DNA contain genes?
One strand of DNA contains the information that codes for genes, and it is called the antisense strand or non-coding strand. It is the strand that is transcribed into mRNA and is designated as the template strand. The other, complementary strand is called the coding strand. Because it contains codons, or sense strand. Its sequence is identical to the mRNA strand, except for the substitution of U, uracil, for T, thymine.
"105 How long is a solar cycle?"
The solar cycle is the periodic change in the number of sunspots. The cycle is taken as the interval between successive minima and is about 11.1 years long. During an entire cycle, solar flares, sunspots, and other magnetic phenomena move from intense activity to relative calm and back again. The solar cycle is one area of study to be carried out by up to 10 ATLAS space missions designed to probe the chemistry and physics of the atmosphere. These studies of the solar cycle will yield a more detailed picture of Earth's atmosphere and its response to changes in the Sun.
Do tornadoes in the northern and southern hemispheres rotate in the same direction?
In general, tornadoes in the northern hemisphere rotate counterclockwise, cyclonically, while those in the southern hemisphere rotate clockwise, anticyclonically. Occasionally, anticyclonic tornadoes have been observed in the northern hemisphere. Typically, anticyclonic tornadoes in the northern hemisphere are weaker. Twisters associated with weak storm cells or sometimes appearing as waterspouts. In 1998, a tornado spinning anticyclonically was observed near Sunnyvale, California. Rarer, but still possible, is a supercell, which generates both cyclonic and anticyclonic tornadoes.
What is the most commonly broken bone?
The clavicle, collarbone, is probably one of the most frequently fractured bones in the body due to its vulnerable position and relative thinness. Fractured clavicles are caused by either a direct blow or a transmitted force resulting from a fall on the outstretched arm.
What is a chemical bond?
A chemical bond is an attraction between the electrons present in the outermost energy level or shell of a particular atom. This outermost energy level is known as the valence shell. Atoms with an unfilled outer shell are less stable and tend to share, accept, or donate electrons. When this happens, a chemical bond is formed.
How much does the fetus grow during each month of pregnancy?
During the early weeks of development there is great change from embryo to fetus, but the overall size of the embryo is very small. As the pregnancy continues, weight gain and overall size become much more significant. Until the 20th week of pregnancy, length measurements are from the crown or top of the head to the rump. After the 20th week, the fetus is less curled up, and measurements are from the head to toe.
What are sand dunes and how are they formed?
Mounds of wind-blown sand in deserts and coastal areas are called dunes. Winds transport grains of sand until it accumulates around obstacles to form ridges and mounds. Wind direction, the type of sand, and the amount of vegetation determine the type of dune. Dunes are named either for their shape, e.g., star dunes, and parabolic dunes, or according to their alignment with the wind, e.g., longitudinal dunes, and transverse dunes.
What general characteristics do all fishes have in common?
All fishes have the following characteristics: 1. Gills that extract oxygen from water. 2. An internal skeleton with a skin that surrounds the dorsal nerve cord. 3. Single-loop blood circulation in which the blood is pumped from the heart to the gills and then to the rest of the body before returning to the heart. 4. Nutritional deficiencies, particularly some amino acids that must be consumed and cannot be synthesized.
Which endocrine glands produce which hormones?
Each endocrine gland produces specific hormones, as explained in the below table.
Who was the first physician to use chemotherapy as a medical treatment?
Chemotherapy is the use of chemical substances to treat diseases, specifically malignant diseases. The drug must interfere with the growth of bacterial, parasitic, or tumor cells, without significantly affecting host cells. Especially effective in types of cancer such as leukemia and lymphoma. Chemotherapy was introduced in medicine by the German physician Paul Ehrlich, 1854 to 1915.
What distinguishes the different types of microscopes?
Microscopes have played a central role in the development of cell biology, allowing scientists to observe cells and cell structures that are not visible to the human eye. The two basic types of microscopes are light microscopes and electron microscopes. The major differences between light and electron microscopes are the source of illumination and the construction of the lenses. Light microscopes utilize visible light as the source of illumination and a series of glass lenses. Electron microscopes utilize a beam of electrons emitted by a heated tungsten filament as the source of illumination. The lens system consists of a series of electromagnets. Recent advances using optical techniques have led to the development of specialized light microscopes, including fluorescence microscopy, phase contrast microscopy, and differential interference contrast microscopy. In fluorescence microscopy, a fluorescent dye is introduced to specific molecules. Both phase contrast microscopy and differential interference contrast microscopy utilize techniques that enhance and amplify slight changes in the phase of transmitted light as it passes through a structure that has a different refractive index than the surrounding medium.
Who was the first test tube baby?
Louise Brown, born on July 25, 1978. Is the first baby produced from fertilization done in vitro outside the mother's body. Patrick Steptoe, 1913 to 1988, was the obstetrician, and Robert Edwards, 1939. The biologist who designed the method for in vitro fertilization and early embryo development. In vitro fertilization occurs in a glass dish, not a test tube, where eggs from the mother's ovary are combined with the father's sperm, in a salt solution. Fertilization should occur within 24 hours, and when cell division begins, these fertilized eggs are placed in the mother's womb, or possibly another woman's womb.
What is a reformulated gasoline?
Oil companies are being required to offer new gasolines that burn more cleanly and have less impact on the environment. Typically, reformulated gasoline, RFG, contains lower concentrations of benzene. Aromatics and olefins, less sulfur, a lower Reid vapor pressure, RVP, and some percentage of an oxygenate. Non-aromatic component, such as methyl tertiary butyl ether, MTBE. MTBE is a high-octane gasoline blending component produced by the reaction of isobutylene and methanol. It was developed to meet the ozone ambient air quality standards. But its unique characteristics as a water pollutant pose a challenge to the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. In meeting the requirements of the Clean Air Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Underground Storage Tank Program. The Clean Air Act called for reformulated gasoline to be sold in the cities with the worst smog pollution beginning January 1. 1995 reformulated gasoline is now used in 17 cities and the District of Columbia.
What is a normal fetal heart rate?
The fetal heart rate is much faster than an adult's, or even a child's, heart rate. The average adult resting heart rate is 60 to 80 beats per minute. The normal fetal heart rate is 110 to 160 beats per minute.
What is the Internet?
The Internet is the world's largest computer network. It links computer terminals together via wires or telephone lines in a web of networks and shared software. With the proper equipment, an individual can access vast amounts of information and search databases on various computers connected to the Internet, or communicate with someone located anywhere in the world as long as he or she has the proper equipment. Originally created in the late 1960s by the U.S. Department of Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, to share information with other researchers. The Internet expanded immensely when scientists and academics using the network discovered its great value. Despite its origin, however, the Internet is not owned or funded by the U.S. government or any other organization or institution. A group of volunteers, the Internet Society, addresses such issues as daily operations and technical standards.
What was the first animal to be successfully cloned?
In 1970, the British molecular biologist John B. Gordon, 1933, cloned a frog. He transplanted the nucleus of an intestinal cell from a tadpole into a frog's egg that had had its nucleus removed. The egg developed into an adult frog that had the tadpole's genome in all of its cells and was therefore a clone of the tadpole.
What is Kevlar?
The registered trademark Kevlar refers to synthetic fiber called liquid crystalline polymers. Discovered by Stephanie Kwolek, 1923, Kevlar is a thin, very strong fiber. It is best known for its use in bulletproof garments.
What are some commercial uses of plant hormones?
Plant hormones are used in a variety of applications to control some aspect of plant development. Auxins are used in commercial herbicides as weed killers. Another use of auxins is to stimulate root formation. It is often referred to as the rooting hormone and applied to cuttings prior to planting. Some hormones are used to increase fruit production and prevent pre-harvest fruit drop. Gibberellins are sprayed on Thompson seedless grapes during the flowering stage to thin the flowers on each cluster, thus allowing the remaining flowers to spread out and develop larger fruit. Gibberellins are also used to enhance germination and stimulate the early emergence of seedlings in grapes. Citrus fruits, apples, peaches, and cherries. When used on cucumber plants, gibberellins promote the formation of male flowers, which is useful in the production of hybrid seeds.
When was metal recycling started?
The first metal recycling in the United States occurred in 1776 when patriots in New York City toppled a statue of King George III, 1738–1820, which was melted down and made into 42,088 bullets.
How many nuclear power plants are there worldwide?
As of 2008, 440 reactors were operational with 44 more under construction. As of 2008, the United States had 104 reactors in operation, with one under construction. The plants generated 100,683 megawatts of electricity or 19.7% of domestic electricity in 2008.
What is the difference between an ocean and a sea?
There is no neatly defined distinction between ocean and sea. One definition says the ocean is a great body of interconnecting salt water that covers 71% of Earth's surface. There are 5 major oceans: the Arctic, Atlantic, Indian, Pacific, and Southern, but some sources do not include the Arctic Ocean, calling it a marginal sea. The terms ocean and sea are often used interchangeably, but a sea is generally considered to be smaller than an ocean. The name is often given to saltwater areas on the margins of an ocean, such as the Mediterranean Sea.
What was maniac?
Maniac, mathematical analyzer, numerator, integrator, and computer. Was built at the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory under the direction of Nicholas C. Metropolis, 1915 to 1999, between 1948 and 1952. It was one of several different copies of the high-speed computer built by John von Neumann, 1903 to 1957, for the Institute for Advanced Studies, IS. It was constructed primarily for use in the development of 3 atomic energy applications. Specifically the hydrogen bomb. It originated with the work on ENIAC, electronic numerical integrator and computer. The first fully operational, large-scale, electronic digital computer. ENIAC was built at the Moore School of Electrical Engineering at the University of Pennsylvania between 1943 and 1946. Its builders, John Presper Eckert Jr. 1919 to 1995, and John William Mauchly, 1907 to 1980. Virtually launched the modern era of the computer with ENIAC.
What was one of the most famous criminal cases involving forensic botany?
Forensic botany is the identification of plants or plant products. This form of study can be used to produce evidence for legal trials. One of the first criminal cases to use forensic botany was the famous 1935 trial of Bruno Hauptmann. 1899 to 1936, who was accused, and later convicted, of kidnapping and murdering the son of Charles, 1902 to 1974, and N. Morrow, 1906 to 2001, Lindbergh. The botanical evidence presented in the case centered on a homemade wooden ladder used during the kidnapping and left at the scene of the crime. After extensive investigation, the plant anatomist Arthur Kohler, 1885 to 1967, showed that parts of the ladder were made from wooden planks taken from Hauptmann's attic floor.
What is the Hippocratic Oath?
The Hippocratic Oath is the traditional oath physicians take when they graduate from medical school. It can be traced back to the Greek physician and teacher Hippocrates, c. 460 B.C. 377 BCE. The oath reads as follows: I swear by Apollo the physician, by Aesculapius, Hygeia, and Panacea. And I take to witness all the gods, all the goddesses, to keep according to my ability and my judgment the following oath. To consider dear to me as my parents him who taught me this art. To live in common with him and if necessary to share my goods with him, to look upon his children as my own brothers. To teach them this art if they so desire without fee or written promise. To impart to my sons and the sons of the master who taught me and the disciples who have enrolled themselves and have agreed to rules of the profession, but to these alone, the precepts and the instruction. I will prescribe regimes for the good of my patients according to my ability and my judgment, and never to harm anyone. To please no one will I prescribe a deadly drug, nor give advice which may cause his death. Nor will I give a woman a pessary to procure abortion. But I will preserve the purity of my life and my art. I will not cut for stone, even for patients in whom the disease is manifest. I will leave this operation to be performed by practitioners, specialists in this art. In every house where I come I will enter only for the good of my patients, keeping myself far from all intentional ill-doing and all seduction, and especially from the pleasures of love with women or with men, be they free or slaves. All that may come to my knowledge in the exercise of my profession or outside of my profession or in daily commerce with men, which ought not to be spread abroad, I will keep secret and will never reveal. If I keep this oath faithfully, may I enjoy life and practice my art, respected by all men and in all times, but if I swerve from it or violate it, may the reverse be my lot. The oath varies slightly in wording among different sources, and many medical schools have adopted modern versions of the oath.
What is a pulsar?
A pulsar is a rotating neutron star that gives off sharp regular pulses of radio waves at rates ranging from 0.001 to 4 seconds. Stars burn by fusing hydrogen into helium. When they use up their hydrogen, their interiors begin to contract. During this contraction, energy is released and the outer layers of the star are pushed out. These layers are large and cool. The star is now a red giant. A star with more than twice the mass of the Sun will continue to expand, becoming a supergiant. At that point, it may blow up in an explosion called a supernova. After a supernova, the remaining material of the star's core may be so compressed that the electrons and protons become neutrons. A star 1.4 to 4 times the mass of the Sun can be compressed into a neutron star only about 12 miles, 20 kilometers, across. Neutron stars rotate very fast. The neutron star at the center of the Crab Nebula spins 30 times per second. Some of these neutron stars emit radio signals from their magnetic poles in a direction that reaches Earth. These signals were first detected by Jocelyn Bell, 1943. Of Cambridge University in 1967. Because of their regularity, some people speculated that they were extraterrestrial beacons constructed by alien civilizations. This theory was eventually ruled out and the rotating neutron star came to be accepted as the explanation for these pulsating radio sources.
How many gallons are in a barrel of oil?
The barrel, a common measure of crude oil, contains 42 U.S. gallons or 34.97 imperial gallons.
Where is the largest solar generating plant located?
The largest solar generating plant in the world is the Solar Energy Generating System (SEGS), located in California's Mojave Desert. Consisting of 9 power plants, SEGS 8 and 9 located in Harper Lake are individually and collectively the largest solar generating power plants in the world.
How loud is thunder?
A clap of thunder can be as loud as 120 decibels, which is comparable to the noise at a rock concert, a chainsaw, or a pneumatic drill.
Are viruses living organisms?
Viruses cannot grow or replicate on their own and are inert outside their living host cell. Once they enter a host cell, they become active. As such, they are between life and non-life and are not considered living organisms. The purified virus precipitated in the form of crystals. During this investigation, Stanley was able to demonstrate that viruses can be regarded as chemical matter rather than as living organisms. The purified crystals retain the ability to infect healthy tobacco plants, thus characterizing them as viruses, not merely chemical compounds derived from a virus. Subsequent studies showed that the tobacco mosaic virus consisted of a protein and a nucleic acid. Further studies showed that this virus consisted of RNA, ribonucleic acid, surrounded by a protein coat. Stanley was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1946 for his discovery.
How is information sent over the Internet kept secure?
Public key cryptography is a means for authenticating information sent over the Internet. The system works by encrypting and decrypting information through the use of a combination of keys. One key is a published public key, the second is a private key, which is kept secret. An algorithm is used to decipher each of the keys. The method is for the sender to encrypt the information using the public key, and the recipient to decrypt the information using the secret private key. The strength of the system depends on the size of the key. A 128-bit encryption is about 3x 1026 times stronger than 40-bit encryption. No matter how complex the encryption, as with any code, keeping the secret aspects secret is the important part to safeguarding the information. Users can easily tell whether they are on a secure or non-secure Internet website by the prefix of the web page address. Addresses that begin with http:// are not secure, while those that begin with https:// are secure.
What is widely considered to be one of the earliest celestial observatories?
Built in England between 2500 and 1700 B. CE, Stonehenge is one of the earliest observatories or observatory temples. It is widely believed that its primary function was to observe the midsummer and midwinter solstices.
Which volcanoes in the contiguous 48 states are considered active and have erupted in the past 200 years?
Seven major volcanoes in the contiguous 48 states are considered active. 2 in California: Lassen Peak, and Mt. Shasta, 4 in Washington: Glacier Peak, Mt. Baker, Mt. Rainier, and Mt. St. Helens, and 1 in Oregon: Mt. Hood.
What is the poison on arrows used by South American Indians to kill prey and enemies?
The botanical poison used by the Aucas and similar tribes in the South American jungles is curare. It is a sticky, black mixture with the appearance of licorice and is processed from either of two different vines. One is a liana, Condodendron tomentosum, the other is a massive, tree-like vine, Strychnos quainensis.
What is a mole in chemistry?
A mole, a fundamental measuring unit for the amount of a substance. Refers to either a gram atomic weight or a gram molecular weight of a substance. It is the quantity of a substance that contains 6.02 x 1023 atoms. Molecules, or formula units of that substance. This number is called Avogadro's number or constant after Amadeo Avogadro. 1776 to 1856, who is considered to be one of the founders of physical science. Mole Day was organized by the National Mole Day Foundation to promote an awareness and enthusiasm for chemistry. It is celebrated each year on October 23.
Which two gems contain the mineral corundum?
Both rubies and sapphires contain the mineral corundum, Al2O3. Chromium, Cr, ions replace small amounts of aluminum in rubies, giving them their characteristic red color. In sapphires, iron, Fe, and titanium, Ti. Ions replace some of the aluminum, producing the characteristic blue color.
Who developed psychodrama?
Psychodrama was developed by Jacob L. Moreno, 1892–1974, a psychiatrist born in Romania, who lived and practiced in Vienna until he came to the United States in 1927. He soon began to conduct psychodrama sessions and founded a psychodrama institute in Beacon, New York, in 1934. Largely because of Moreno's efforts, it is practiced worldwide. Psychodrama is defined as a method of group psychotherapy in which personality makeup, interpersonal relationships, conflicts, and emotional problems are explored by means of special dramatic methods.
What are fractals?
A fractal is a set of points that are too irregular to be described by traditional geometric terms, but that often possess some degree of self-similarity, that is, are made of parts that resemble the whole. They are used in image processing to compress data and to depict apparently chaotic objects in nature such as mountains or coastlines. Scientists also use fractals to better comprehend rainfall trends, patterns formed by clouds and waves, and the distribution of vegetation. Fractals are also used to create computer-generated art.
Which diamond is the world's largest?
The Cullinan diamond, weighing 3,106 carats, is the world's largest. It was discovered on January 25, 1905, at the Premier Diamond Mine, Transvaal, South Africa. Named for Sir Thomas M. Cullinan, 1862–1936, chairman of the Premier Diamond Company. It was cut into 9 major stones and 96 smaller brilliants. The total weight of the cut stones was 1,063 carats, only 35% of the original weight. Cullinan I, also known as the Great Star of Africa or the First Star of Africa, is a pear-shaped diamond weighing 530.2 carats. It is 2.12 inches, 5.4 centimeters, long, 1.75 inches, 4.4 centimeters wide, and 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, thick at its deepest point. It was presented to Britain's King Edward VII, 1841–1910, in 1907. And was set in the British monarch's sceptre with the cross. It is still the largest cut diamond in the world. Cullinan II, also known as the Second Star of Africa, is an oblong stone that weighs 317.4 carats. It is set in the British Imperial State Crown.
Which are the only 2 elements in the periodic table named after women?
Curium, atomic number 96, was named after the pioneers of radioactive research Marie. 1867 to 1934, and Pierre Curie, 1859 to 1906. Meitnerium, atomic number 109, was named after Lisa Meitner. 1878 to 1968, one of the founders of nuclear fission. Elements 113 through 118 are unstable and have not been confirmed independently by researchers. The names for elements 113 through 118 are under review by the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry.
What is Belgian block?
Belgian block is a road building material, first used in Brussels, Belgium, and introduced into New York about 1850. Its shape is a truncated pyramid with a base of about 5 to 6 inches. 13 to 15 centimeters, square and a depth of 7 to 8 inches, 18 to 20.5 centimeters. The bottom of the block is not more than 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, different from the top. The original blocks were cut from trap rock from the Palisades of New Jersey. Belgian blocks replaced cobblestones mainly because their regular shape allowed them to remain in place better than cobblestones. They were not universally adopted, however, because they would wear round and create joints or openings that would then form ruts and hollows. Although they provided a smooth surface compared to the uneven cobblestones, they still made for a rough and noisy ride.
What are the highest and lowest points on Earth?
The highest point on land is the top of Mt. Everest, in the Himalayas on the Nepal-Tibet border, at 29,035 feet 8,850 meters, above sea level. This measurement, taken using satellite-based technology, includes the snow and ice layers which are estimated at between 30 feet, 9 meters, to 60 feet, 18 meters. The National Geographic Society accepted this height in November 1999. The U.S. National Imagery and Mapping Agency has also accepted 29,035 feet, 8,850 meters, as the official height. There is hope that ground-penetrating radar will one day be used to determine the snowpack depth. The height established by the Surveyor General of India in 1954 and accepted by the National Geographic Society was 29,028 feet. 8,845 meters, plus or minus 10 feet, 3 meters, because of snow. Earlier measurements indicated the height of Mt. Everest was 29,002 feet, 8,840 meters. Satellite measurements taken in 1987 indicated that Mt. Everest is 29,864 feet, 9,102 meters, high. But this measurement was not adopted by the National Geographic Society. The lowest point on land is the Dead Sea between Israel and Jordan, which is 1,312 feet, 399 meters, below sea level. The lowest point on Earth's surface is thought to be in the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean, extending from southeast of Guam to northwest of the Mariana Islands. It has been measured as 36,198 feet, 11,034 meters, below sea level.
Who developed fiberglass?
Coarse glass fibers were used for decoration by the ancient Egyptians. Other developments were made in Roman times. Parisian craftsman Ignace Dubuispanel was granted a patent for the spinning and weaving of drawn glass strands in 1836. In 1893, the Libby Glass Company exhibited lampshades at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago that were made of coarse glass thread woven together with silk. However, this was not a true woven glass. Between 1931 and 1939, the Owens, Illinois Glass Company and the Corning Glass Works developed practical methods of making fiberglass commercially. Once the technical problem of drawing out the glass threads to a fraction of their original thinness was solved, basically an endless strand of continuous glass filament as thin as 1/5000 of an inch, 0.005 millimeters. The industry began to produce glass fiber for thermal insulation and air filters, among other uses. When glass fibers were combined with plastics during World War II, a new material was formed. Glass fibers did for plastics what steel did for concrete, gave strength and flexibility. Glass fiber reinforced plastics, GFRP, became very important in modern engineering. Fiberglass combined with epoxy resins and thermosetting polyesters are now used extensively in boat and ship construction, sporting goods, automobile bodies, and circuit boards in electronics.
When was the term antibiotic first used?
Antibiotics are chemical products or derivatives of certain organisms that inhibit the growth of or destroy other organisms. The term antibiotic, from the Greek anti, meaning against, and biosis, meaning life, refers to its purpose in destroying a life form. In 1889, Paul Wheelman, 1861–1932, used the term antibiosis to describe bacterial antagonism. He had isolated piocyanin, which inhibited the growth of bacteria in test tubes but was too lethal to be used in disease therapy. It was not until the mid-1940s that Selman Waxman, 1888–1973, used the term antibiotic to describe a compound that had therapeutic effects against disease.
How is nuclear waste stored?
Nuclear wastes consist either of fission products formed from the splitting of uranium, cesium, strontium, or krypton, or from transuranic elements formed when uranium atoms absorb free neutrons. Wastes from transuranic elements are less radioactive than fission products. However, these elements remain radioactive far longer, hundreds of thousands of years. The types of waste are irradiated fuel, spent fuel, in the form of 12-foot, 4-meter, long rods. High-level radioactive waste in the form of liquid or sludge, and low-level waste. Non-transuranic or legally high-level, in the form of reactor hardware, piping, toxic resins. Water from fuel pool, and other items that have become contaminated with radioactivity. Currently, most spent nuclear fuel in the United States is safely stored in specially designed pools at individual reactor sites around the country. If pool capacity is reached, licensees may move toward use of above-ground dry storage casks. The 3 low-level radioactive waste disposal sites are Barnwell, located in South Carolina, Hanford, located in Washington, and EnviroCare, located in Utah. Each site accepts low-level radioactive waste from specific regions of the country. Most high-level nuclear waste has been stored in double-walled stainless steel tanks surrounded by 3 feet, 1 meter, of concrete. The current best storage method, developed by the French in 1978, is to incorporate the waste into a special molten glass mixture. Then enclose it in a steel container and bury it in a special pit. The Nuclear Waste Policy Act of 1982 specified that high-level radioactive waste would be disposed of underground in a deep geologic repository. Yucca Mountain, Nevada, was chosen as the single site to be developed for disposal of high-level radioactive waste. However, the Yucca Mountain site continues to be controversial due to dormant volcanoes in the vicinity and known earthquake fault lines. As of 2010, the Energy Department withdrew its application for a nuclear waste repository at Yucca Mountain.
What is cannel coal?
Cannel coal is a type of coal that possesses some of the properties of petroleum. Valued primarily for its quick-firing qualities, it burns with a long, luminous flame. It is made up of coal-like material mixed with clay and shale. And it may also look like black shale, being compact and dull black in color.
What are the alkaline earth metals?
These are beryllium, B, element 4, magnesium, Mg, element 12, calcium, Ca, element 20. Strontium, senior, element 38, barium, Ba, element 56, and radium, Ra, element 88. The alkaline earth metals are also called group 2 elements. Like the alkali metals, They are never found as free elements in nature and are moderately reactive metals. Harder and less volatile than the alkali metals, these elements all burn in air.
Why is blood sticky?
Blood is sticky because it is denser than water and about 5 times more viscous than water. Blood is viscous mainly due to the red blood cells. When the number of these cells increases, the blood becomes thicker and flows slower. Conversely, if the number of red blood cells decreases, blood thins and flows faster.
What is the original breed of domestic cat in the United States?
The American Shorthair is believed by some naturalists to be the original domestic cat in America. It is descended from cats brought to the New World from Europe by the early settlers. The cats readily adapted to their new environment. Selective breeding to enhance the best traits began early in the 20th century. The American Shorthair is a very athletic cat with a lithe, powerful body, excellent for stalking and killing prey. Its legs are long, heavy, and muscular, ideal for leaping and for coping with all kinds of terrain. The fur, in a wide variety of color and coat patterns, is thick enough to protect the animal from moisture and cold, but short enough to resist matting and snagging. Although this cat makes an excellent house pet and companion, it remains very self-sufficient. Its hunting instinct is so strong that it exercises the skill even when well provided with food. The American Shorthair is the only true working cat in the United States.
What does it mean when a lake is brown or blue?
When a lake is brown, it usually indicates that eutrophication is occurring. This process refers to the premature aging of a lake, when nutrients are added to the water. Usually due to runoff, which may be either agricultural or industrial in origin. Due to this rich supply of nutrients, blue-green algae begin to take over the green algae in the lake. And food webs within the lake are disturbed, leading to an eventual loss of fish. When a lake is blue, this usually means that the lake has been damaged by acid precipitation. The gradual drop in pH caused by exposure to acid rain causes disruption of the food webs, eventually killing most organisms. The end result is clear water, which reflects the low productivity of the lake.
What products does 1 acre of trees yield when cut and processed?
There are approximately 660 trees on 1 acre of forest. This number of trees can yield approximately 105,000 feet. 32,004 meters, of lumber, more than 30 tons, 30,000 kilograms, of paper, or 16 cords of firewood.
How is speleothem defined?
Speleothem is a term given to those cave features that form after a cave itself has formed. They are secondary mineral deposits that are created by the solidification of fluids or from chemical solutions. These mineral deposits usually contain calcium carbonate, Caco3, or limestone, but gypsum or silica may also be found. Stalactites, stalagmites, soda straws, cave coral, boxwork, and cave pearls are all types of speleothems.
Is there one numerical value for sea level?
Sea level is the average height of the sea surface. Scientists have calculated a mean sea level based on observations around the world. The mean average sea level takes into account all stages of ocean tides over a 19-year period. Numerous irregularities and slopes on the sea surface make it difficult to calculate an accurate measure of sea level.
Which metallic element is the most abundant?
Aluminum is the most abundant metallic element on the surface of Earth and the Moon. It comprises more than 8% of Earth's crust. It is never free in nature, combining with oxygen. Sand, iron, titanium, and other substances, its ores are mainly bauxites, aluminum hydroxide. Nearly all rocks, particularly igneous rocks, contain aluminum as aluminosilicate minerals. Napoleon III, 1808–1883, recognized that the physical characteristic of its lightness could revolutionize the arms industry, so he granted a large subsidy to French chemist Saint-Clair Deville. 1818–1881, to develop a method to make its commercial use feasible. In 1854, Deville obtained the first pure aluminum metal. Through the process of reduction of aluminum chloride. In 1886, American Charles Martin Hall, 1863–1914, and Frenchman Paul Héroult, 1863–1914, independently discovered an electrolytic process to produce aluminum from bauxite.
How are anabolic steroids harmful to those who use them?
Anabolic, protein building. Steroids are drugs that mimic the effects of testosterone and other male sex hormones. They can build muscle tissue, strengthen bone, and speed muscle recovery following exercise or injury. They are sometimes prescribed to treat osteoporosis in postmenopausal women and some types of anemia. Some athletes use anabolic steroids to build muscle strength and bulk and to allow a more rigorous training schedule. Weightlifters, field event athletes, and bodybuilders are most likely to use anabolic steroids. The drugs are banned from most organized competitions because of the dangers they pose to health and to prevent an unfair advantage. Adverse effects include hypertension, acne, edema, and damage to the liver, the heart, and adrenal glands. Psychiatric symptoms can include hallucinations, paranoid delusions, and manic episodes. In men, anabolic steroids can cause infertility, impotence, and premature balding. Women can develop masculine characteristics, such as excessive hair growth. Male pattern balding, disruption of menstruation, and deepening of the voice. Children and adolescents can develop problems in growing bones, leading to short stature.
In what ways are earthworms beneficial?
Earthworms help maintain fertile soil. An earthworm literally eats its way through soil and decaying vegetation. As it moves about, the soil is turned, aerated, and enriched by nitrogenous wastes. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882, calculated that a single earthworm could eat its own weight in soil every day. Much of what is eaten is then excreted on Earth's surface in the form of casts. The worms then rebury these casts with their burrowing process. In addition, Darwin claimed that 2.5 acres, 1 hectare, of soil might contain 155,000 earthworms, which in 1 year would bring 18 tons of soil to the surface, and in 20 years might build a new layer 3 inches, 11 centimeters, thick.
What is the purpose of primary teeth?
Primary teeth, also known as baby, deciduous, temporary, or milk. For their milk-white color, teeth serve many of the same purposes as permanent teeth. They are needed for chewing and they are necessary for speech development. They also prepare the mouth for the permanent teeth by maintaining space for the permanent teeth to emerge in proper alignment. Each individual has 20 primary teeth followed by 32 permanent teeth.
What problems may be encountered when polyvinyl chloride, PVC, plastics are burned?
Chlorinated plastics, such as PVC, contribute to the formation of hydrochloric acid gases. They also may be a part of a mix of substances containing chlorine that form a precursor to dioxin in the burning process. Polystyrene, polyethylene, and polyethylene terephthalate, PET, do not produce these pollutants.
What is string theory?
A relatively recent theory in particle physics. String theory conceives elementary particles not as points but as lines or loops. The idea of these strings is purely theoretical since no string has ever been detected experimentally. The ultimate expression of string theory may potentially require a new kind of geometry, perhaps one involving an infinite number of dimensions.
Which species of mosquito causes malaria and yellow fever in humans?
The bite of the female mosquito of the genus Anopheles can contain the parasite of the genus Plasmodium, which causes malaria, a serious tropical infectious disease affecting 200 to 300 million people worldwide. More than 1 million African babies and children die from the disease annually. The Aedes aegypti mosquito transmits yellow fever, a serious infectious disease characterized by jaundice, giving the patient yellowish skin. 10% of the patients die.
What is lithotripsy?
Lithotripsy is the use of ultrasonic or shock waves to pulverize kidney stones. Calculi, allowing the small particles to be excreted or removed from the body. There are two different methods: extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy, ESWL, and percutaneous lithotripsy. The ESWL method, used on smaller stones, breaks up the stones with external shock waves from a machine called a lithotripter. This technique has eliminated the need for more invasive stone surgery in many cases. For larger stones, a type of endoscope, called a nephroscope, is inserted into the kidney through a small incision. The ultrasonic waves from the nephroscope shatter the stones, and the fragments are removed through the nephroscope.
Which breed is known as the wrinkled dog?
The Shar-Pei, or Chinese fighting dog, is covered with folds of loose skin. It stands 18 to 20 inches, 46 to 51 centimeters, tall and weighs up to 50 pounds, 22.5 kilograms. Its solid colored coat can be black, red, fawn, or cream. The dog originated in Tibet or the northern provinces of China some 2,000 years ago. The People's Republic of China put such a high tax on Shar-Peis, however, that few people could afford to keep them, and the dog was in danger of extinction. But a few specimens were smuggled out of China, and the breed has made a comeback in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Although bred as a fighting dog, the Shar-Pei is generally an amiable companion.